Let's be honest, why are people confused? This isn't a vaxxed versus unvaxxed conversation, but a transparent conversation about why millions of people who are vaccinated and millions of people who are unvaccinated are trying to figure out what the heck is going on. We've been told by our politicians to trust the experts. So here's those politicians and experts telling us not that long ago that getting vaccinated would likely mean not getting or transmitting the virus.
The various shots that people are getting now cover that. You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. Yeah.
Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick, and that it's not just in the clinical trials, but it's also in real-world data.
Well, that didn't happen. Why? Over time, the efficacy proved to go down from this 95 number to this 39 number. Keep in mind, these are all mainstream sources. This isn't conspiracy outlets or far fringe activists. This is the experts and the data telling you that their original predictions weren't true. When they don't want you to question them, they say, the science is settled, trust the science. Questioning me is questioning the science. And then when they make a mistake or their prediction was wrong or off, they say, well, the science didn't change, the virus changed. Or, the science evolves, give us a break. But if the virus did change, don't you think that some scientists and some bright minds knew about variants and other strains, since variants and strains are not new science by any stretch of the imagination? One of the biggest drivers of freedom and getting back to normal was this idea of the politicians and experts telling you, if you get the vaccine, you could take the mask off. It's over. Masks are over.
The CDC is saying they have concluded that fully vaccinated people are at a very, very low risk of getting COVID-19. Therefore, if you've been fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask. Let me repeat, if you are fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask.
And I'm sure that they'll try to fact check this or say that it didn't happen, so luckily I have receipts from mainstream news media and the CDC director herself. Take a look.
Tonight, the new face of the pandemic is now one without a mask. The CDC's ground-shifting change impacting the 117 million fully vaccinated Americans who will no longer need to physically distance or wear a mask, outdoors or indoors.
We have all longed for this moment.
The dramatic cultural shift, by far the biggest restriction rollback, and also a major incentive for the roughly 130 million in this country who qualify to be vaccinated but are not.
2 weeks after your last dose, you can shed your mask. You can shed your mask. You can shed your mask.
Of course, due to the Delta variant, that has changed, but that doesn't change the fact that millions of people thought that if they got vaccinated, they would finally be left alone and able to go back to normal. Because no matter how much they try to cover it up or censor opposition, for me at least, I can speak for myself, masks are not comfortable. I don't like them. All communication is not verbal, it's also facial expressions like smile, frown, and facial cues. So you're taking away a pretty big percentage of people's communication, which is really also impacting special education as well, which I know you guys don't give a crap about, but a lot of us don't like it, and that drove a lot of people to get the jab. Interestingly enough, the liberals and medical experts who told you if you go get the vaccine, you could take your mask off, are now some of the heaviest enforcers of the mask, and the places that you're least bothered are usually in more conservative areas where they are not following these untrustworthy people who constantly move the goalposts.
We're hearing about these breakthrough infections every single day. Does the vaccine not protect people as much as we thought?
I'm so glad that you asked because, in fact, the vaccine is working exactly as we thought it would work as we studied it in the clinical trials. In those clinical trials, it was and its design was to prevent severe disease and to prevent hospitalizations and deaths. And in fact, even with the Delta variant, we are fortunate that it is working actually quite well and pretty close to as well as the vaccine worked to prevent severe hospitalization and death as it did the Alpha variant. So there are plenty of reasons to protect yourself to get vaccinated. Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick, and that it's not just in the clinical trials, but it's also in real-world data that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick, and that it's not just in the clinical trials, but it's also in real-world data. The vaccine is working exactly as we thought it would work as we studied it in the clinical trials. In those clinical trials, it was and its design was to prevent severe disease and to prevent hospitalizations and deaths. That vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick, and that it's not just in the clinical trials, but it's also in real-world data.
So I wanted to keep this video simple just to explain there's a reason people are confused. You don't have to agree with me, but isn't it understandable why people don't know what the heck's going on? From 15 days to slow the spread, to you could take the mask off if you get it, to you probably won't get the virus, to this, to that. It seems like the only thing that is consistent is the goalposts will move, and the pharmaceutical industry, the politicians who printed trillions of dollars, and the corporate media, which gets caught time and time again pushing the fake news that they claim that they're helping filter, they will take zero responsibility for their actions and blame you for 100% of it. Disgusting people they are. Yeah, I'm sure there's nothing they could have done better last year during the pandemic. They did just great. It's all your fault, says the psychopaths who somehow run our government, media, and corporate entities. But before I leave, I want you to ask your employer a question. If you're still being forced masked, keep in mind I haven't had to wear one in months. No one bothers me. I live in a free area where they're not psychotically stressing people out and making people less healthy by breathing down their neck and driving them insane, closing down gyms, childhood obesity spiking. Of course, they don't care about that. But if you are still being forced masked, innocently and kindly ask this question. Say, do you have an end date for the mask mandate? Most likely they're going to say no, they don't know the end date. Well, do you guys have metrics? Is it like a death rate that you guys are going off of, a case rate, possibly even a vaccination rate? If we get this amount of people vaccinated, then we could go back to normal. If you ask your boss this, most of the times they're going to tell you they're not really sure, because at a certain point they stopped pretending to give you metrics like 15 days to slow the spread, and it just became status quo normal to boss people around like tyrannical psychopaths and create a peasant, serf, and slave class that's forced to do things that the elites and celebrities are not forced to do. Like this picture, for example. Is there science that her air is different from their air? Is there really concrete science that says that wearing a mask while walking into a restaurant for 15 seconds is really impactful when you take it off, eat, talk, and converse for hours? You don't have a mask on, but your waiter does? These are questions people don't ask anymore because it's just like, you're never going back to normal. If there is no end date for the mask mandate, if they told you one thing when you got the jab, and then as soon as you got it, they took away that privilege that they promised you that you were going to get, and then they implemented the policy again with no metric of case rate, death rate, vaccination rate, or end date, which they're not even pretending to have anymore. And if they did, there's an old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 500 times, I might be a believer of the people who have moved the football more times than Lucy on Charlie Brown. After chasing a carrot for a couple years, fool me this many times, you are the fool. Anyway, thanks for watching. God bless you. If you like my hats, godblesshats.com. Patreon.com/raretalk. Thank you everybody for supporting. They have taken away my live streams on Facebook. I don't know when I'll get them back. This is the type of stuff that they can't do because they suck. So thanks for supporting. Telegram, Dream Rare Chat. Have a beautiful day. I'll be back soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Brothers and sisters, we're moving up. I be going higher and higher. I fly like a pilot and know like the violence I'm wildin', okay?